Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Matt, go ahead.
Uh, you got me?
Got you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, just I guess to start, Grzelcyk and Miller maintenance days today, or something more.
Miller, yes. Grizz, don't think we'll be ready to go tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll put him as day-to-day lower body. Obviously had a tough start to the year, but um, Clifton will most likely go back into his spot. He did a good job for us when Grizz was out, so that's what it'll look like for tomorrow.
Okay, and then last night you used five forwards in the power play. You also used Grizz up there with him out. Obviously, that may change your thinking a little. But just last night, what was the thinking there, and kind of toggling back and forth? What did you see?
Well, I didn't see much from necessarily last night. We practiced it that way this week. We used it in Philly. We've said we will use it at times. Gets Kretsch a little more involved. He's a good power play guy. If he's not on the first unit, he gets the tail end of the second unit, which can be important sometimes, but other times that first unit, because of their ozone puck possession, tends to eat up a lot of that time. So it's just keeping him involved. I think he's good at the top as well. The Grizz, we've said it all along. I think he's the most similar, most seamless from where it was last year with the left stick at the top, how he plays. And then I've mixed Charlie in as well when Grizz was out. So that's it. It's just going to be situational till we feel we're rock solid with the one guy at the top, and some of that will be dictated by injuries, as I said, opponent, what they're doing, and the individual himself who might be best suited or help their game the most at the time.
Go next to Connor Ryan.
Hey Bruce, I know a lot has been said over the years about Brad and his development into a elite player, but looking back during his time in Providence when he was with you, was there any moment that kind of stood out to you, in terms of maybe his play on the ice or maybe just his overall approach as a pro that made you think, wow, this guy could really be something at the next level?
Well, there's a couple things. One was in game. We had a game up in Manchester, and he took a 2 and a 10, I think, right after the 2. And it was a bad penalty. It hurt the team. It was third period. Well, it was third period. So it was discussed in the room that what good players do is they're going to go out the next night and be the best player on the ice. And that was what was said to him. And it was a challenge for him as a first-year player to sort of put that behind him, but make up for it the next night. And he was absolutely the best player on the ice. So you could tell right away he knew what was required. From him in those situations. If he did do something that hurt the team, he's going to go out and correct it right away. So that was certainly a moment to me where I thought he could handle some of those challenges in front of the group. As for a player, I saw him. He was out working on his shot one day, and he was shooting off one leg. I can't remember now. Which if it was his right leg or left leg, and like Messier did a lot, but he was doing Joe Sakic, and he asked me that. He says, how come he shoots it so well off? Is because he shoots it off the wrong leg, so to speak. And it stumped me. I didn't even know that. Joe Sakic shot it off a certain leg, and Messier the other one, because you saw that a lot where guys that sort of do that kicking motion while they shoot off one leg. It's changed a little bit now, but that's when I knew. I was like, geez, this guy is a student of the game, and he's working on everything. And he was always the last guy off the ice, so it didn't surprise me, but it did surprise me of how in depth he was working on one particular skill. So those are a couple examples I remember that I knew, this guy's probably going to separate himself from the rest of the guys, and sure enough, he did.
Thanks.
Joe Haggerty, go ahead.
Hey, Butchie, I know they had a pretty good night as a line last night, but just curious just what you've thought in the first month or so of the play of Charlie Coyle. And, he's moved around a little bit, done some things. Is he just one of those guys that you're constantly going to have to encourage to shoot the puck more, look for more offense at times? Is he just not always going to be that guy and you kind of have to make peace with it? Sort of, where do you approach it with him?
I think that's probably more accurate. You just have to make peace with it, and you hope that he recognizes that when he has to be the guy attacking and driving and shooting and sort of creating himself. We've had to remind him at times. I think he defers. That's a bit of his personality. Likes to hold it and then make a play. I thought Jake was a good compliment to him last night. Jake came in with a mindset that he's going to start getting pucks to the net. I think he had 14 attempts. That's awesome. That not going to happen every night, but just the fact that he was thinking he was going to get it to the net. So that'll complement Charlie. We've had Smith there for that reason. We've I think when we've signed Smith, we acknowledged it. Would want to look at him with all the centermen if possible, particularly Krejci and Coyle, because we knew Pasta would be up with Bergie. So that's a little bit what's going on now. Taking a look with Kretsch. So Charlie loses a shooter in Smith. So but gets it last night in DeBrus, which was good to see. So I think to getting to your question, I think his play has been solid. Could it be better offensively, a little more attack oriented? Yes, I think we can always say that about Charlie. He can go to the net a little more attack. But he's been, used in D zone situations, face-offs. He's been good on the penalty kill. Power play more second unit than first with Richie in net front, but and typically a younger guy in his wing. It was Freddie at the start of the year who I think he took under his wing a little bit. Now he's got Bjork. I don't know how long we're going to sort of stick with the Bjork, DeBrus, Coyle. I mean, dependent on production, it's going to be dependent on how does Smith look with Krejci, and how does Frederick complement the fourth line and make it a bigger, heavier line with Corrali and Wagner. So all those things go into it, Hags. And as you know, with me, it takes a little time. Sometimes I like to sort through all my options, especially when the team's going well, and that's the case now.
Let's go to Kevin Dupont.
Excuse me, Butch, this is, 4 years since you took over the job. You got promoted to the head job, so congratulations. If you were a player, we could go back to say 5 games of that first stretch, that first year, and compare them to 5 games recently in terms of growth, style. How would you suppose in these 4 years, if you looked at that first set of games to today, where have you changed? Where's your growth approach?
I think from where I was sitting then, I thought we lacked a little more attack mentality on offense back then, in that February of 17. So we started building some of that pace into our practice and the attack where D were getting up, being part of the offense. And ironically enough, we're kind of back to that now, right? We'd like to see that a little bit more. So that's been a work in progress from day one. I think the continuity part, Kevin, has been team defense. It's been here for years. So we kept that in place and tried to, upgrade our offense. Power play is something I looked at, took a personal interest in. I thought could really help us. We'll move some pieces around there to make up for some of the offense that we lacked as well. So those are some things I saw right away. Where are we now? I think we're still incorporating younger players. We've wanted to do that as an organization, make sure we keep the circle of life, or, the wheel turning, whatever you want to call it in that regard, where we're drafting and developing our guys and getting them into the lineup eventually. We were doing that then with some forwards, maybe not that February, but shortly after that, it was, DeBrus came in and Bjork and Heinen and, McAvoy, Carlo. Now it's, you see Lozon, Zaboro, Frederick, studs when, before he got hurt. So we're trying to keep that sort of mentality working. So, as for the team in the whole, I see us, we went from a team that made the playoffs to, I think, a legitimate, contender, and maybe even some people would say a favorite every year. So that's what you want in this business, right? You want to be a team that has a crack at it every year. So we've been able to sustain that. And I think this year is, again, we've come out and showed that we're legit. So we'll see. It's early, see how these guys hold up, but, so that's where I wanted the team to go, the direction. I think every coach would tell you that they'd like that. Realistically, I think we had it in the room, and, we've kind of proven that we can play with the big boys. Now we just got to, take that, that last step, and hopefully, we keep building towards that this year, and that's what happens.
And what's the key to the message? So much of coaching is selling, messaging and selling. Has that changed in the 4 years for you? How you convey?
No, I think I've been honest with the guys sometimes to a fault. That's how I like to treat them. They're men. They're good pros. We have good leadership in the room. That hasn't changed from the day I took over. Just trying to give an honest message where they're at, what their expectation is for them as individuals, what their expectation is as a guy that plays for the crest on the front, not the name on the back. And that message has not changed. Of course, you learn things, how to deal with certain individuals over time. Still learning with some of them that I've had for a few years. What's the best way to be honest? Is it soft, or is it direct and get it over with? Is it video? Is it pulling them aside? Those are things you sort through. with every player, even the ones you've had for all 4 years. Still working through with what's the best way to get Carlo to have confidence with the puck at the offensive blue line, Jake to be consistent every night. So those are things you still, as a coach, have to go through with a lot of different guys. Other ones, you kind of get the message across, like, with Pasta originally, hey, you're going to play in that line. You got to be a 200-foot player. Those guys take a lot of pride in their team, their play away from the puck. So let's make sure you tighten up your details. He's done a great job with it. So then you move on to the next sort of challenge. So like I said, some of them are ongoing for the whole time here, and others you can sort of deal with a little quicker and move on to the next challenge.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question for Coach Rich Thompson.
Hey, Bruce, good afternoon. The other night was your 5th overtime win of the season, and 2-0 in shootouts. Contrast to last year where you started 0-5 and had 12 one-point games. Just how gratifying is it to come out of these things with 2 points? And just any other thoughts you have on overtime and
Well, the shootout last year, we didn't win any. And then so you win 2. So, and I'm not going to sit here and say we spent the last 4 months working through analytics to improve our shootout. We looked at numbers. We looked at how the players attack the net. But at the end of the day, you get the extra save and a guy scores in a shootout. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Small sample size this year, so we'll see how it goes. As for overtime, early in the year against Jersey, we didn't put a lot of emphasis in training camp, Rich, on it, because we had 7 days to get ready, and we're more worried about chemistry and how we want to play and integrating some new guys, get our D up to speed, etc. So I didn't like our overtime against Jersey. We lost 1-1 in a shootout, and then we sort of tightened up a little bit, put a few more things in place, and I think lately we're better at it. Obviously, getting a power play helps in Philly. But at the end of the day, it's always gratifying to get the extra point. I think how you're playing is more important as a coach. Are you letting games get away from you, or are you getting back into them to get into overtime? So those things we look at. But obviously, we'd like to wrap these things up in regulation. I think we did a terrific job with that last year. We were able to put teams away once we did get the lead. We're still working on that. So that's where we're at now. And hopefully as the year goes on, we turn those 1-goal leads into 2-goal leads and into the win column in regulation in 60 minutes. But like I said, it's great to get the extra point. It always separates you a little bit early on, but it's the overall play. I think that concerns me more is that get to that 60 minutes. And that's still a work in progress for us. We weren't there the other night, last night. And we're going to work on, trying to get there tomorrow, but that's the biggest challenge.